All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about 10 things that are going to help you increase your art skills. Let's jump in. Number one, go to the library or a bookstore. If you have a library in your area, I recommend that you definitely go to it. If you haven't been to it, just go to it, get a library card. Doesn't take a long time. Literally, I think it's just your name and your address or something like that. Go into the library and go to the art section. Just look at, see what they have to offer. A lot of times when people don't have the ability to buy books on Amazon, either because they don't have the money, they don't have the space, or they just don't want to just deal with the whole physicality of keeping up with the book and making sure it doesn't get kicked around the house, then having a library book is actually perfect because you could borrow it, look at the art, be inspired by it, and then take it back to the library when you're done with it. This is by far a really important thing to do as an artist if you want to keep your inspiration going. And this is why I made this number one. Go to the library. Now, bookstores are really cool too. If you have a Barnes and Noble or a used bookstore in your neighborhood, I really like used bookstores because they tend to have books that are out of print, and a lot of those books that are out of print are really good books. So I would go to a bookstore and just kind of chill out, get you a tea or something, grab a table, and I usually grab a stack of books and I just go sit down and I go through all of them, and I might find one that I want to buy and take home. Number two is exercise. You want to get your body moving. You want to get the blood flowing. You want to give your body a chance to kind of move away from yesterday and bring in today. And exercise a lot of times will just get me into a different mindset. Sometimes you don't feel like doing art, but after you go do a good workout and have some water, have some fruit afterwards, you might find yourself a little bit more inspired. So I would definitely say keep your body moving. Art is not necessarily a physical thing depending on the kind of art you're doing. If you're doing sculpting, then yeah, you do want to exercise your arms because you're holding your arms up for a certain period of time depending on how big the sculpture is. But if we're just like drawing and painting and things like that, that's not that physically taxing. You still will get a lot of benefit out of physical exercise. So I would say just go for a walk. I go for walks almost every day, and it actually allows you to filter some of the old crap out of your brain and then bring in some new ideas, give yourself a space to think outside of using our phone doing this. Number three, go on an artist date. So I read this book years ago by Julia Cameron called The Artist's Way. I recommend this book highly because it has really good things that you just want to be thinking about if you want to develop as an artist. And one of the things that she brought up that I never forgot, and I still do, is go on an artist date. So this is where you just kind of take yourself somewhere. You don't go with anyone else though. You don't have a friend go with you. You go by yourself. So you could be alone with your thoughts. And I would recommend kind of staying away from the phone as much too, and go somewhere fun. You know, you could go to an amusement park, you can go for coffee, or you can go to the bookstore, or you can go shopping for some clothes or something, or you could just go window shopping. What you want to do is you just want to be out with yourself and allow yourself the time and the space to think about things. Allow yourself the time and the space for new ideas to pour in. And also, as you're out, it's always good that you go to a place that you haven't been before, because as artists, we're visual people. So we want to be taking new visuals into our eyes and our mind all the time, because those new visuals start to filter and turn into inspiration and new ideas, and then we put that out into our art. If we're looking at the same four walls of our house all the time, then what happens is we might find ourselves in a writer's block or an artist block. The artists who don't go through those types of blocks are artists who are always out taking in new inspiration, not just through the internet or not just through a phone. Number four, do art with children. I've taught children for a while now, like for years, but for the past year, I've taught them a lot. And one thing I can tell you is that it's changing my life, because I'm in a place where I'm now letting them teach me. When they do their art, I am studying how they approach art. I'm studying how free and how careless and how they're not hindered by how to do it right and all this other stuff. They just go for it. And that's why child art is some of the best art that has ever been seen, because they don't have all these hangups that we have as adults. And I think that if we mimic the way children approach art, a lot of us will be inspired to do art more and more. I know that I've been inspired to do art, but just watching them, they just go for it. They're not worried about the rights and the wrongs and doing it the wrong way. So I would recommend you, if you do art with a child, like just grab a sketchbook and give a child a piece of paper and say, hey, we're going to draw pictures of this plant. And just kind of notice how the child is just not hindered by anything that you might be hindered by. And take on that energy, internalize that. After about 4 or 5 sessions, if it doesn't happen in the first, I guarantee you, you will be inspired by them. Number 5, Watch interviews by artists that you admire. I can tell you that I've been watching interviews for a while. Sometimes they're really long. Like I usually, when I search for an art interview on YouTube, I search for interviews that have a long time. So they're like over 40 minutes or something like that. I love those. You could just put the interview on and listen to it while you're doing art or while you're washing the dishes or while you're doing something else. Sometimes I go through periods where I listen to interviews of artists who talk about what it's like to be an artist, how to stay inspired, or what their lifestyle is like. And then you could take some ideas from what they're doing, incorporate it to what you're doing, and maybe it'll inspire you. Number 6, rearrange your art space. This is gonna be a game changer for you. So what I've done over time is that I've realized that I would kind of get uninspired to work in the art space where I work. And so I've learned that if I either clean it up or if I rearrange it, it's more inviting for me to do some artwork. It actually stimulates different ideas just for me to be in that space. So I would recommend doing something to your art space that's different. You could maybe get a new chair, a new desk, or maybe move things around so that it's just a little bit more inviting than what you're normally used to. Sometimes just shaking things up just kind of generates ideas. Number 7, visit a figure drawing session. In your area, they probably have a figure drawing session where a number of artists sit around and then they draw or paint a model who is posing. Now, if you don't have a figure drawing session in your area, you can do it online, but I recommend you do it from life. I'm always recommending that my students do art from life and stay away from doing art from computer screen or a photograph, because we have two eyes. You can see a little bit on this side with this eye, and a little bit on this side with this eye. And that's providing a certain three-dimensional information that you can't get from a two-dimensional surface of a photograph or a computer screen. So I recommend that you go to a figure drawing session in your area, socialize with other artists, get into the environment or be around other artists as they're creating art. I guarantee you this will stimulate some ideas that you didn't previously have on your own. Number 8, do some cafe drawing. This is my arena here. I drew on the bus, on the train, and at cafes, and that's actually where my skills accelerated for a couple reasons. One, the main reason was I think I learned how to draw through the distractions, and I think the biggest distraction that we have when we're drawing is our own thoughts. And so when I'm in an environment like a cafe or something like that, what happens is you hear the music of the cafe, you hear the clanging of the plates and the coffee cups, as the servers are handing people their coffee. You'll also hear people talking in the background. Sometimes people come up to you and watch you while you're drawing and they ask questions. Hey, what's that? This, that, and the other. So all these distractions make it a bit harder to draw. And what I've learned is that just like with any muscle, if you put pressure on it, it's going to grow. So if you learn how to draw around these distractions, then when you go back to your safe, controlled environment, it just seems easier to peel through things that were once harder before. Number 9, draw self-portraits. Years ago, I carried around this little makeup mirror. It's like, a little compact makeup case. I carried this around in my pocket everywhere I went along with my sketchbook. And whenever, I'm sitting waiting for somebody, I would whip the mirror out and just start drawing pictures of myself in my sketchbook. You might think like, how can you draw a picture of yourself looking at a really small mirror? You move the mirror around to get the top of the head and you move it down to get the bottom of the head or whatever. And I did a lot of really cool ones. I actually did one, I think I was out at dinner waiting for a burger and some fries to be served at my table. And I drew a cool picture of myself just while I was waiting at the table. And then I would also venture off and draw other people in the restaurant. But keep a mirror with you and just draw self-portraits. Or you can have a big mirror at your house and draw self-portraits. This is one surefire way to actually study how to draw the human face, how to do light, shadows. A lot of times if we don't have a figure drawing session in our area, or we just don't have the money for it, or we just don't want to go for whatever reason, you can still learn how to do figure drawing by drawing yourself in the mirror. The mirror is a tool that we have at our access and everybody has one. So I would recommend get a mirror and start drawing pictures of yourself. And number 10, try different art. I can't tell you how much this is going to actually help accelerate your growth as an artist, is to do different arts. If you're normally a painter, try doing some sculpture. If you're normally a digital artist, try doing some traditional art. art. This is one of the things that I find that my teenage students have a hard time with. They all want to jump on Photoshop, and I'm a master of Photoshop. I can use Photoshop, the iPad, Procreate. What I've learned is that you actually become better in those digital platforms the better you are on traditional platforms. So I always nudge students, if they're into digital art, try traditional art. If you're only into traditional art, try digital art. You know, you might want to get a Wacom pen or an iPad and get Procreate and then learn how to do some digital art. Or if you're into doing traditional drawing, painting, try sculpture. I used to do sculpture back in the day, and I've gotten back into it. I'm using now oil-based clays, and it's really, really fun. And it definitely inspires me, and it kind of pulls me away from my normal drawing and painting, where I can do something different and it just kind of jazzes things up. So that's the last thing that I would recommend, is that you do some different form of art. Try to get away from what you're always doing. That can kind of get dull over time if you're just doing the same thing over and over and over with no variety. So those are 10 things that I think will help you stay inspired to do art by changing it up and doing something different. If you like what you heard in this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, because it sends it out to other people who can benefit from this message. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.